Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review. This is part of our Language Completeness and Consistency series. And we have a variety of topics. Knitting for terminated evaluation and propagator boards. So do I have to be in 13.2? Yes, I do. So I need to move this into 13.2. Is it opening in 13.2? That's very confusing. Well, okay. There I've got 13.2. And let me go to, let me open DocuTools here. Do I have to update documentation?
No, I have not made any changes. In fact, I was so uncertain about, I guess, propagated aborts that I think no, propagated aborts was the easier one. I'm confused. I just remember that I've not put anything in the docs yet. So
wait a minute. Okay.
I mean, there are ref pages, but I haven't put anything on any guide pages. I haven't. I have some suggestions if you open up the section, but I have not. You know, these pages were defeaturized like before the tech conference.
Let me remind myself what propagator boards even is.
It controls the behavior of check abort when, you know, whether it, you know, it kills off the abort or, you know, handles the abort, but then lets it to persist to be caught by some higher level.
Shouldn't this point to confirm and close and also point to the event handler stuff?
I don't think this should point to event handler. Confirm and close, I suppose. I mean, I don't think confirm and close support this, and I'm not sure that they should.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is part of the point of a see also is you got to this page by hook or crook, but this might be not the page you were looking for, so to speak. Point you to what you might have been looking for. And that's why I think event handler isn't irrelevant to this. At least event
handler is totally different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it has this notion of, doesn't it have an option for passing up and passing down events?
Probably. Brett, do you know? I mean, that's more of a John and Lou question, who are not here.
I mean, there's some control in that in an event handler, and I forget what it is. It's
pass events down, pass events up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at least those should point to propagator boards.
Okay. Yeah, right. Those are very directly analogous, even though they're in a very different context.
Yep. Okay. So I don't know what's on the flow control page. Let me take a look. You think it goes right after abort protect there?
Yep.
Okay, looks fine to me. How do I get this guide?
Triple click, copy, and paste it into the search bar. Well, you didn't select the whole thing, but that'll work.
Okay, where do you think here?
So, right, I guess it goes into low-level error.
By the way, failure representation. Surely this should have terminated evaluation should be part of that.
Okay.
At the end.
Okay, Avery, are you taking notes on all these locations? So I'll remember after
Yep.
this meeting?
We can meet Friday. Yep.
Okay. Now propagate. Oh, it goes down here, right? Just
Right.
after abort protect.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see this thing here.
Right, so we have check abort under evaluation bulletproofing. So I'm not sure if it should go at the end because it's right. It sort of affects how checkerboards interacts with time constraint and memory constraint. Those are really sort of the main use
All
cases.
right, put it at the end of that line, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and if you notice the question marks, those represent my level of confidence that that's a
Yeah,
good
okay.
candidate.
I would put this.
Right, I mean, it seems like it, yeah. It seems like it should go in that section, but I don't know if we want it just as a bullet point or if we want a one function indicator listing with some description.
It's kind of weird because the user will never type it in.
I guess that's true.
Unlike everything else on this page.
Correct. Um,
I think we want it on a, okay, hold on. I mean, it just feels wrong. Well, no, it's okay. Fine. You should just have terminated evaluation. Representation. Well, what do you say about it? Has been stopped for the specified region. I don't think that is.
that I okay, well, I guess
Well, okay,
I would make it past perfect if we're going to go with past tense. So has been, or that was stopped for the specified reason.
okay, but you know what? We need to give the sense that this is a global reason, so to speak.
Okay.
Represents. I would even say an evaluation process that has been, you know what? Why don't we look?
What
Represent, because it's a tentacle of the evaluation.
right. And I mean, this is going in a slightly different direction, but we could say something represents an expression whose evaluation was terminated for the specified reason.
Yes, that's good, actually. Who's
Evaluation.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
I would go with simple past in this case.
No, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Whose evaluation overran global limits and was terminated.
Okay.
Global system limits, or does system suggest it's external?
Yeah, that might be, I would say session or kernel session, just to sort of be clear what.
I think that's a bit clearer about what kind of a thing this is.
Mhm.
Whose evaluation? Well, represents an expression. Okay. So then here we would say, in here we'd say terminated evaluation. By the way, it's not necessarily global session limits. Doesn't time constrained? Does it return a term?
I mean, that is what's weird, because time constrained and memory constrained aren't sort of global things, right? They can
Okay, so
be peppered anywhere. So in a sense, those are sort of the odd ones in that list.
but they now return terminated evaluation, right?
No.
Oh, I see. Okay, so why don't they? Because they might.
Because, well, for one thing, you can control what is the return value of
I see. Good point.
and right, and it's generating a literal abort. So if you don't specify anything, it returns
Okay,
dollar.
hey, listen, you should also put in here something about how terminated evaluation is kind of deadly and you can't do anything with it, so to speak.
Okay, if you have suggestions on how to put that, I'm all ears.
I don't understand why you don't just start with x equals x plus 1 here.
I like down value functions, but
Why don't we start with x equals x plus 1? It's really the simplest minimal case. What can you not do with the terminated evaluation? Presumably you can't assign a value to terminated evaluation. Or can you? You can replace for it.
I mean, in principle, right, it's a normal expression, right? I mean, that literally is, I mean, at the present time, I mean,
Yeah, because we haven't packed the other stuff into it.
Right. So at the, at the present time, this is just symbol of string. I mean, once we add to it, we'll also have the expr struct, and right,
yeah, okay,
examine the expr struct, but that's potentially dangerous depending on if you try to actually.
Right. Okay, so why don't we just figure out what we're going to say here? So terminated evaluation, something like the
representation. We could just say something generated by exceeding global limits, and then have,
well, we could say representation Let's see. It's not a result because it isn't the result.
I mean, it's a substitute result.
An evaluation terminated by global limits. But something like that. Terminated evaluation dash an evaluation terminated by global limits.
Maybe
Should-
exceeding global limits.
What's that?
Maybe exceeding global limits would be clearer. Instead of just by global limits, I'm suggesting by exceeding.
I see. No, but it wasn't terminated by exceeding. Terminated as a result of exceeding,
Okay,
which is going to get too long.
I see.
Terminated due to global limits?
Yeah, that's what I was about to suggest.
I think that's fine. It's a perfectly reasonable thing for this page. Let me just send that to you guys. I'm not going to edit that page.
Okay.
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
And I need to push back that documentation update in a minute. From here.
Right. So one question is if the C also should also include things, like dollar failed and
I
failure.
think so. I think it should include failure at least.
Mhm.
I would put that at the end. I think you really do need to say more about the semantics of this thing. Although maybe we don't need to write much more until we have a richer version. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other ones.
Right.
I
So,
don't think so. Well, failure representations.
right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, why not? At the end of that list, terminated evaluation.
Okay. Why
I'm
did I?
not seeing
Right.
it.
Okay. Because it includes dollar iteration limit. So I was wondering if it should go there, but like I said, I put 2 question marks. So
Yeah, I don't buy that one.
okay. And I think memory optimization probably includes dollar recursion limit. So was dollar. Oh, both of them, which is
Yeah, nah.
okay.
Question, let me just think about this for a second. Where do we have, so we have evaluation control there. See, in a sense, terminated evaluation, and by the way, it should have, let me just say, if we've got keywords,
Oh, I forgot keywords.
infinite recursion, infinite expressions,
Maybe uncontrolled iteration.
is anybody ever going to type that in?
We should have at least some version of iteration on there.
Yeah, I know, but unbounded iteration.
Yeah, that probably sounds better.
Well, but that might mean something different. I mean, unbounded iteration could mean do with infinity.
Mhm.
I think uncontrolled is better. I don't know what else. Okay. Is there a guide page about about expressions? That takes us there. Is there anything else that should be on this page?
Um, well, I guess it's I think I don't know that there's anything uncontroversial that goes on this page. There are plenty of controversial things, right? Like graph, right? It's not right. You can't operate it on it like a normal expression, and it is backed by raw expert. But I don't know that people really think of it as an atomic thing.
We could have a section on this page that lists some of those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So let me just push that before I forget. Okay. Nick is now instituting, so I don't see why he shouldn't join us as a visitor here, but
Oh, Nick's not here this time. I didn't realize that.
right. I think it's because he's now officially part of the Institute. And so who knows whether he even got the notification properly.
Okay, well, I think well, then I think we should just, right, we started this conversation last time, and well, I guess the one update I can give is, it's probably not super hard to change the behavior to be what Nick wants. The question is that the right thing, and what sort of collateral damage would we incur by making
Is it something that didn't match previously?
No, it's cases where you have an unused you have a variable that is an unused branch of.
Right. And so what is that thing when it's unused?
Right.
And it could be just like our terminated expression, it could be an unmatched pattern. It could be a symbolic thing, unmatched pattern.
Well, that would be very backwards incompatible.
Yeah. I mean, if we made it, literally sequence bracket, then you wouldn't see any difference if you substituted it into something that isn't hold all or hold complete or sequence hold.
Could we?
It's the latter that I'm worried about, to be honest. I wanted to test to see what that would do to alpha.
Yeah, well, I've got another suggestion. Can Brenton's code analysis tools perhaps look for this case and just show us what people have actually done?
Um,
In other words, can we write a meta pattern that looks for patterns like this in our code base?
Right. Well, I can certainly tell you that things that I've done, obviously this is a super contrived case, but right, check like if hold complete of thing is equal to hold, is same queue to hold complete bracket. And then I know if I'm in the branch where that thing was actually used or not.
That is very hacky.
It's very hacky, but it's worked for 33 years. Or I guess 30 years, right? Because you needed to get 25 years, because I don't think we had a hold complete until version 3. So it's worked for 25 years.
Okay. Well, I think we need Nick to further represent this.
Yeah.
GeoRange arrow world.
So there's the question.
Yes. So the question here is that when we say world, it's world from minus 180 to plus 180. And in some email, you seem to be suggesting that we should adapt to the local position, centering at the local position.
It's like, I remember when I first went to Australia at the airport, they were selling, upside down maps,
Mhm.
right.
which I'm sure is just a joke. But
So what is, don't we already have a distinction between like GeoRange world and I forget what it is, like GeoRange full or all or something like that? Or one of them centers it at 0, and the other just centers it quote
We
unquote
have a
intelligently?
secret. We have a secret string called adjusted world that centers at your location.
Right.
But
So
we
right
never
now,
documented it.
all, and I'm not sure about full, but certainly all is basically a synonym for world, correct?
Correct.
Well, but I thought all, maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought all didn't, like if you do a projection that covers the whole Earth, like, equirectangular or something, I thought all didn't always center it at 0, but world did. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I think, unless I've forgotten about that change, I think both world and all center at 0 by default.
Right. I mean, it depends on the value of geocenter, right? Which is obviously what I've
Exactly.
frustrated with.
GeoCenter can override that. But I think the idea originally was that most people are used to the map of the world that centers at 0. Right.
oh, we're going to be able to make those geotiles faster. Oh, did this change now?
So
Right, it's the
presumably, right,
top
because
one.
you wanted all these style changes, right? So I evaluated that example a few weeks ago. So
Oh, I see. But if I
But-
go here, this is my version 13.2.
So all does this. This is what I'm saying. All will force centering at 0. And so what we are discussing is that all says, I want the whole world, but centered at whatever the first argument is suggesting.
right. So I guess the question is, what does the combination GeoRange goes to all, GeoCenter go to automatic do? Where does that center things?
Yeah, I understand. And if there's content in the geographics, does it take account of the content?
So
And
change
determine-
all to this string adjusted world. Right. So the discussion is whether all should do that, or whether we document a string. I think we were never happy with this one.
Well, I think, okay, what do you do if you've got Israel and its antipode, both in the first argument?
So I guess Jose can tell me, but I will try to guess, right? So it tries to find the center of all the things you've given it. So if the whole world, it would just pick 0, presumably.
So let's see, because this is forcing the orthographic projection, it may actually decide to center at the middle of those 2 points. But
Oh, okay.
if this was like the standard equirectangular projection, it would show both points and try to center both points.
Okay, so that went halfway in between.
Exactly.
That's not completely stupid what that did.
Yes, but this is because you still have adjusted world. If you had all or world, it would have force minus 180 to 180.
Right, and of course, with an equirectangular projection, it picks the center of the longitude because the latitude is fixed by the projection.
If you want a really hard case, you should do, you should do point of random geo position of 100 or something like that.
Right. Okay.
I mean, to be honest, though, there's nothing good it can do in that case.
Right. Yeah. I think on some level, I would say that's probably an easy case because it's basically the whole world, right? So,
Yeah. So
Well, no, but I'm saying if you do say a projection that doesn't cover the whole world,
oh, I see.
like an orthographic projection or something.
who knows? I mean, because the measure, this random geoposition is presumably putting more. I mean, it looks like it's putting more things at the poles here, and it probably is because the projected area. This is taking more of the
It
surface of
shouldn't.
the Earth and putting. Yes,
I think
should.
it does it it does it. No, but I mean, I think, oh, you just mean in the orthographic projection. I mean, random geoposition should be sampling in an equal area projection.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it looks like there's more things at the poles because the poles are scrunched up in this projection.
Oh, sure. But the more general point, though, is if you run that again, of course, it's going to center somewhere totally random.
Well,
Because these points are homogeneously distributed, the average tends to be near 0, 0.
Right. Exactly. That's why.
Oh, I see. Because it's
same-
computing the average.
Exactly.
It's computing the average in like an equal rectangular projection or something like that.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
I mean, if the points were all accumulated in some region, it would detect that and it would center in that region.
So you could have situations, I mean, maybe you could have it in the geomarker case as well, where you have 2 points that are right across from the international date line from each other, and then it centers it on 0, 0 on the other side of the Earth because their average longitude is 0.
No. That's what I'm saying. If the points are close together, it will detect it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There it is.
Right.
Divisible is okay. So the basic point is when you do the average, is an average done in lat long effectively? It's not an average done in the projected grid position of the projection, correct?
No, how this works is that it takes the points, constructs 3D vectors, does the average in the 3D world, and projects back.
I see.
Because you don't know, for example, an orthographic projection, the geogrid positions are going to be totally different depending on what geocenter you use.
Yeah, I see. So it couldn't do that. Okay, fine. So it's taking the actual XYZ thing. Okay, so now let's go back to the question. So what does georange? So georange automatic would just zoom in on those things. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Correct.
God, this downloading geotiles thing, it's just crazy. I mean, well, whatever. Okay. Nice picture though. It looks nice. And okay. Does georange full do anything different?
No, I don't think so. I think full, all, and world currently do the very same thing. And the need for this alternative version was realized, and that's why we created this adjusted to world, but it's not documented. So I think we could first introduce either this string as it is or a better name, because the need is there.
I would call it world centered or something like that.
Yeah, I keep wondering if this is the world after it's seen its chiropractor.
Okay, but what about changing georange all to be this thing that takes the content? Because I just worry that there are projections where you might just not even see the content. I think this idea that it takes the content and centers on the content is not silly for georange all.
Okay, so
but then okay, wait a minute. But what we really want is it's georange. It's sort of fixed world. as opposed to a rotating world, so to speak.
Well, I think world should stay as it is because we use it in many places, and if we change it, it could change many maps. Now, the thing with all is that we had decided that for planets other than the Earth, it doesn't feel very natural to say georange goes to world, and we tend to use georange goes to all.
I see.
So if we change the behavior of all, we might change some out of Earth maps. Perhaps it's not so bad, but I mean, and we don't recognize the surface of Mars as well as the surface of the Earth. But.
Well, I mean, what would happen is in the moon, for example, orthographic projection of the moon will show part of the far side.
Right.
Right now, if I say, okay, so here, not that that necessarily matters, but I probably have to do the points in red or something. Well, yeah. Does geomarker? Yeah, geomarker will work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, who knows? Is that only the, no, that's not right. That's not what the moon looks like, right?
Well, again, you have adjusted world.
I know that.
World.
I know that. I know that.
Okay.
I know that. But I'm saying that's not, in the case of the moon, what the heck?
It's close, but.
Oh, I see. That's just a tiny, tiny bit off.
Mm-hmm. It's
like libration or whatever of the moon or something.
So another question is, would adjusted world, because I remember Jose, you were demoing at the tech conference, at least for sort of in the context of Astro stuff, doing, I forget what it's called, but basically doing projections, like equirectangular projections and so on, but where you shift the 0 for latitude as well. I mean, would adjusted world do stuff like that, or no? It only move longitudes in most cases.
Yeah, so you're referring to obliqueness. So right now, the azimuthal projections, like orthographic, can go to any world, to any point, can have centering anywhere, but the cylindrical projections cannot. Eventually, they will be able once we have obliqueness. But yes, this is a piece of functionality that in which Astro is more advanced than Geo.
Well, because
but I guess there's already logic for determining, if you pick a non-cylindrical projection, there's already logic for choosing the latitude. So I guess this is a solved problem probably.
Okay, what other settings do we have? I mean, so what we've got this kind of geo range standard or something. Like standard means center on 0, 0.
Mm-hmm.
Which would then work for the moon and things as well. Is it always? I see. It's not actually the range, or it might be the range if the projection is not a complete projection, so to speak.
What do you mean?
I mean, if the projection doesn't show everything, like this orthographic case.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but nearly all projections tend to center at 0, 0 by default.
Say that again. What?
Projections tend to center at 0, 0 by default.
Okay, but this is avoiding that centering by setting a geo range that depends on, I mean, maybe we should have geo range arrow inherited or something be the thing that takes it from the actual values, and geo range all stay where it is right now.
Mm-hmm. That would work.
I mean, right, but how do you explain then the difference between inherited and automatic, right? I mean, I guess inherited is the whole thing, but why not use something like full?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Okay, well, which is full and which is all then? I mean, I would prefer all to be this thing that centers on things that you actually can, make sure you can see what you need to see.
That's fine with me. As I said, only a few maps of the moon and Mars might change a bit, but I think that's fine.
Okay, so then the idea will be full means the full planet with its generic centering, and all means, I mean, it's a little bit funky, but it seems okay. I think we should allow this distinction. So then we're saying georange all changes its meaning. Georange full says it will always be in the standard centering. Correct?
Yep.
So right now, if you look at the rough page for georange, it says that full and all are equivalent, but world is documented. Right, so all is region corresponding to the entire world is included, whereas world is use bounding box of whole world. And I'm not even sure what that's trying to.
When used in geographics, what the hell does full mean? Not when used in geographics.
I don't remember whether this is just saying this is.
Oh, I see. You have to. Well, okay. So I'm not sure. So I'm not sure about that point. But actually, looking at the first note, right, that explains that all and full are in fact the same thing as world. So we'll need to update that note too. But they can also be used in one of the two slots, whereas world can't. Right? You can't do the list world, comma, whatever, but you can do the list all, comma, whatever.
Well, why don't we support that for all, but not really mention it for full? This is pretty confusing. And then I think we should just deprecate world here.
Sorry?
Well, I mean,
world?
why do we need the thing world if we've got all? We can have it. Why not?
I think it's important to keep it because it's used a lot. We use a lot more world than all.
All right, fine. But what about planet?
The entity?
Or yeah, I think he's suggesting the string planet as a substitute for world.
Yeah, I think that's silly. It's silly. It's going into planetary before its time.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you should support. Oh yeah, you do support an entity.
Yes.
Okay, but what happens if that entity is Mars?
Well, unless nothing else conflicts with that entity, I think we'll understand that you want to go to Mars. So that case might complain that you have something on the moon.
No, it says not a valid georange, but I think it's wrong. I think it needs to support that.
Yeah, it should support.
Well, but you also is that because what happens if you put an empty list in the first, or just some geoposition? Because I wonder if it's the conflict between the moon and Mars there.
We're in the Pacific.
Okay, so that's a bug.
No, the Atlantic, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should support that entity.
Okay. All right. So I think
you can write a country there and it will understand it, but it's not understanding.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. It's a minor issue. I mean, should it support consonants? It should support.
Mm-hmm.
Does it support consonants?
Probably continents, yes.
Beautiful. Does that surprise that I see it cut itself off because it's orthographic and it's only showing Asia? Fascinating.
Exactly. It realized it doesn't have to go beyond.
Okay. Nice. Right. So full and all, and some changing of documentation, and we leave world. And what
Okay.
world would do is equivalent to
Full.
fine. Fine.
Mhm.
Okay. Our last topic.
Right, so you put in a request for an operator form of divisible. And so sort of my general point was that if any mathy functions have operator forms, but if we look at things sort of nearby, we can probably do divisible if we think of divisible as the operator form of divisible as an extension of even Q and odd Q. Then I guess this makes there's no problem to doing it. There's sort of a problem doing any of the most of the nearby
Like mod. Does mod have an operator form?
Mod does not have an operator
Yeah,
form.
but it will be a mess in an operator form, right? Because of the offset.
Right. So you couldn't do the offset. And coprime Q, for example, is of our args, including the basically one identity. So we couldn't have a
Yeah, I agree. I understand.
So if we really want divisible, I don't see a problem with it, but it would just be a little odd given.
Well, what do other people think?
I don't see any problem in having it. I think we have tended not to add so many operator forms in mathematical functions.
Yeah, it's because particularly when they go varargs.
There have been several times. Well, yeah. I mean, I've wanted an operator form for divisible before. Although every time I use divisible, I also have to look up what the argument order is. But that's yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right, but if you had an operator form, you wouldn't have to look up the argument order.
I guess
Sure
so.
you
I just
would,
have to
because
trust that
you'd
it's the
need
right
to-
thing.
Exactly. You need to know whether you're constructing the right operator.
Okay, but nobody in their right mind would make the operator form not be, if I say divisible 5 of 10, it means is 10 divisible by 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is pretty clear. Right. It's the ideal generate. It's the ideal generated by the first argument of the head, right?
Sure.
I'm going to argue that maybe the argument should have been in order, but I don't think it's true.
Well, no, I'm going to argue that it should have been called divisible by or divides or something like that, but it's too late now.
Yeah. I think we should have this operator form. I think it will save, because I have to look it up every single time as well. The argument order. So, okay. All right. Did we get through the agenda?
We did.
Excellent. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
We'll have to figure out how next time we want to discuss the things to make sure that Nick actually knows and makes it. I didn't realize that there was this technical change, or
Yeah.
hunted it down
Yep.
harder.
Okay. Sounds good. See you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.